just for a moment, I want you to close your eyes and just picture, what would the devil look like? Now, don't think too long about that. What did you see? How many of you saw a character with a goatee? Goatees are back in now, aren't they? I had a goatee, and people said, yeah, Karen didn't like it. I've had it a couple of times. I had one years ago when my hair was actually dark. And somebody told me I looked like a sinister minister. And so I thought I better shave off my goatee. Any of you picture a character that had red? Red leotards? Bat wings? Anyone? How many of you have seen images of the devil? Horns? Pitchfork? Bat wings? He's not Batman, but he's got bat wings. Do these images come from the Bible? Now the devil's happy, you buy a can of red devil paint, or you eat devil's food cake, and it's always got the typical traditional cartoon character of what the devil looks like, but Satan isn't a joke. He's very real. He's delighted to have people think that he looks like this mythical, comical character. In reality, does Satan look like that? Or does the Bible say Satan himself can be transformed from an angel of light? He's beautiful. Yeah, into an angel of light. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 11. We'll talk more about that. So what led him to sin? What brought the whole thing about? You read again in Ezekiel 28:17. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. For you said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will be like the Most High God. His power, you ever heard the expression power corrupts? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And not only does power corrupt, but sometimes people, if they're blessed with money, they can be corrupted by it. Some people are blessed with popularity. Some people are blessed with a handsome or beautiful appearance. And if they don't have a humble attitude, it can destroy them. I've struggled with that all my life, trying to maintain my humble attitude in spite of my beautiful appearance. Why are you laughing? But you and I have all known people that can be vain. And they can become preoccupied by their appearance. And I once knew a young lady that she was a very attractive young lady. The problem was she knew it. And I guess too many people growing up told her how beautiful she was. And she was just constantly pulling her little mirror out of her purse and checking herself. And she'd walk by a store window and she'd turn and she'd look and she'd read in Glamour magazine. And she was very attractive, but nobody really wanted to marry her because she was so vain. She began to worship herself. And the devil, because he received so much praise and so much adoration from the other angels, he began to want it all. He started to resent that Jesus was above him. It's interesting. A kid will be happy if you take them to Baskin-Robbins, 31 flavors, and you get them a double scoop of ice cream. They're happy until you give their brother or sister a triple scoop. Isn't that right? What's wrong with us? There's something, this jealousy, this resentment. And he began to covet the position of God. For you said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will be like the Most High. I want to be God. And so he began a campaign. He realized he had to work subtly, and he began to circulate among the other unfallen angels in heaven. Well, none of them were fallen at that point. And he began to create innuendo and doubts about God. And, we don't need God telling us. We should all be our own gods, and he should give us the ability to create. And we're right next to God. Why doesn't he give us more glory? And why don't we get worshiped by the other unfallen worlds? And Lucifer began to just sow seeds of questions and doubt, and he is the master at it. He was brilliant. He had supernatural intelligence that you and I cannot even comprehend. And he began to bend all of his energies to see if he thought, if I could get all of the power of these billions of angels on my side, we can even overthrow God. I know it sounds crazy to us, but that's what he did. He began a rebellion in heaven. And 1/3 of the angels started listening to him. You can read there in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16 through 19. It says, 6 things the Lord hates. 7 are an abomination to him. There's a heart that divides, a proud look, first, a lying tongue, and the devil started with pride, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, a false witness who speaks lies, and then one that sows discord. Did I say something wrong? The slide jumped too quick. There we go. A heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are running swiftly to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren. Notice the part that he mentions with. The 7th, one who sows discord among brethren. What did Lucifer do? Started with pride, ended up sowing discord in heaven. It finally turned into an open rebellion. And they were finally cast out. Now, before I get to that part, some of you might be wondering, Pastor Doug, all right, let's ask the most important question. If God's in charge, if God is all-powerful, why would he put up with that? If Lucifer started to misbehave like that, then obviously God did something wrong in the programming. There was a software problem. God got the wiring wrong. There was a defect somewhere in Lucifer. If there was no defect, he never would have done that. Why did God make an angel that even could become a devil? Why didn't he just take a different pattern off the wall and say, I'm going to make one that will never become a devil? And you and I wouldn't have all the problems that we have in the world today or in our lives. Lord, why did you do that? Did God make a mistake? Could God have made Lucifer where he never rebelled? Yes. Why didn't he? Because God gives all of his creatures freedom. The greatest proof that God is a God of love is the fact that some of the creatures chose not to love him. How many of you are parents? Did you know that before you had children, there was a risk that your children might not always listen to you? And you still had them. Right? Let me see if... Now, how many of you want to be loved? Did any of you have children because you wanted love? You got surprised, didn't you? Some of you had children because you wanted to love. You know, I always laugh when I see these young couples and the girl gets that look in her eyes and she says, I want a baby. It's just totally, it's like they don't realize they don't stay that way, you know? It's like, it reminds me of when my kids say, I want a puppy. I'll be a puppy for about a month and then they get to a big dog. And I got Karen a puppy and he was so cute, he just tore the house apart. And finally had to take him up to the ranch. They don't stay puppies. He came home once and they had this pillow in the living room and he just ripped it to shreds. It was like this big center pillow that people sat on. So I had to put duct tape over it and flip it over. And cute little dog. But we have our families, we get our pets, we do this because we want love, we want to be loved. But there's a risk when you want love. Now, I want love, just like you. I will admit, I like to be liked more than I like to be disliked. And I figured out a way where I can get more love. Came with my smartphone.
Good evening, Pastor Doug.
Good evening, smartphone.
How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Well, my batteries are almost fully charged, so I guess you can say I'm fine.
We're glad to hear that.
Pastor Doug, I want to tell you something.
Yes, smartphone?
I just haven't told you lately how wonderful you truly are, while you even border on magnificent. And matter of fact, you're beautiful, you're handsome, you're tall, you're smart. I love you, Doug. I just have to tell you, I really love you. I love you so much. I love you, love you, love you.
I feel better.
I adore you. You are so cute. I love you, Doug. I love you, Doug.
I should be able to patent that and make a lot of money, right? Just everyone wants love. There, you got it. I got a smartphone that says it loves me. So, I may run off with my smartphone. Leave Karen, right? Because it's a lot more cooperative than she is. Why won't this work? Is that love? Because I made it say it loves me. It doesn't love me. So could God pre-program Lucifer to say, I love you, God, I love you, God? Sure. Would it have been love? The fact that he had to make his creatures free illustrates that there's a choice that some might choose not to love him. And he didn't completely obliterate Lucifer as soon as he rebelled, because then the other creatures in the universe would have listened to God out of fear instead of out of love. God wants us to obey him because we love him. Amen? So what happened as a consequence of Lucifer's rebellion in heaven? Finally, it broke out into a war. And the words war in heaven, they're a paradox. But that's what it says in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. War broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon. A dragon's a symbolic name for who? The devil. And the dragon fought against Michael, and it says they did not prevail. They were ultimately cast out. But where did they go from there? Where is Satan's present headquarters as he continues his rebellion against God? Where did the devil go as his beachhead? And you know, yeah, I came down here. I just probably ought to pause here and ask, what was used in that battle? What do angels use? They use guns? I mean, we tried to illustrate this in a Final Events DVD or a Cosmic Conflict DVD. Any of you ever see that? And we didn't know what to do, and so the producer got some lightsabers. And we didn't know, what do angels use? There was actually a verse in the Bible where it talks about an angel over Jerusalem with a sword, and so we said, the only weapons we ever see these angels with are swords. So we didn't know what to do. But I doubt they use weapons like we do here, because they're spiritual creatures. But there was some tremendous conflict. And finally, they were evicted, expelled from heaven. So where did he go? He went all through the universe probably trying to find others he could recruit to join him. Until he came to this world, he finally found someone. And you can read in Revelation 12:4, his tail drew a third of the stars. Who do those stars represent? The angels that joined him in his rebellion. Out of all the angels, what percent joined Lucifer? 1/3. That's a lot. If God's got good angels that guard us, the devil probably has demons that tempt us. Some of you maybe read C.S. Lewis' book, The Screw Tape Letters, where he talks about the way that the devil is always trying to work and connive to bring about people's downfall and how God intervenes to save. He cast them to the earth. So he came down here. And again, you can read in Revelation 12, verse 9, that great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. Satan claims his world is his. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. There's no question, Satan, and he's not down under the earth somewhere. Remember when the devil came before this heavenly assembly in the book of Job, God says to Satan, where did you come from? God knew, but he's asking for the benefit of the other attendees at this convention. And he says, I've come from the earth, from walking up and down and back and forth in the earth. It's my domain, he's saying. I survey it. So Satan has set up his headquarters here. Christ refers to him as the prince of this world, even to Jesus. And Satan once claimed he could offer the world to Jesus because he claims it is his. He deceives the whole world. Most of the world doesn't accept Christ. Broad is the way that leads to destruction. Straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leads to life. Few find it. The devil's deceived most of the people, and it's very sad. From going up and down, to and fro in the world.